Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome back to Oxygen for the Soul. This week's Perashat is Perashat Behoukotay, the last Parsha reading in the book of Leviticus, in the book of Vayikra. It begins with this very ominous verse that the rabbis have a hard time understanding. It's what its true essence is. It says, "Im bechukotay telechu ve'ed mitzvotay tishmeru ve'asitem otam." If you follow my statutes and you observe my commandments and perform them, what's going to happen? V'natati gishmechem be'itam. I'm going to give you the rains at the right time, v'natna ha'aretz yevula, and the land will go ahead and produce its fruits, and the tree will give forth the etz hasadeh yiten piryo, and the fruits of the tree will come forward. Now, Rashi, our favorite friend over here, says, what is this verse? Yachol ze kiyum mitzvot. What is this verse? What is God saying over here? If you follow my statutes, what does this mean exactly? So he says, I might think that this refers to the fulfillment of the commandments. When it says, right? Pasuk says, these are my commandments and do them. It already says it. Then what is the purpose of the words Behoukotay telechu? If the whole purpose of this verse is to teach me that I'm supposed to go ahead and fulfill the commandments, then what's the purpose of telling me Im Behoukotay telechu, that I should go with these chukim, right? Walk with these statutes, walk with these laws. So he says the purpose is to teach you Shtehiyu amelim b'Torah. You have to put in effort, strenuous effort into understanding the Torah. Amelut in the Torah. Okay? If you are amelim b'Torah, therefore you'll come and do all these other things. Very, very nice. So, first of all, what is it? Why can't the Torah straight out tell me what it is that God wants? Why can't the Pasuk say, if I want you to put in tremendous amount of effort in understanding the Torah, which by the way, we could all agree here. Everyone here listening, watching, joining right now will agree that Torah has many different layers, written into it. Something for the novice, something for the intermediate, something for the more advanced, and so on and so forth. A rabbi who is a student of learning is called a Talmid Chacham. He's a student of learning because we never ever master this stuff. So we know that the Pasukim are written with layers. But why can't this particular verse be more explicit? So some people say that it says in Behoukotay telechu to teach you that the way to understand the Torah itself is by asking those difficult questions, by literally being amol, going through the strenuous work of questioning and questioning and questioning, so that you and I can walk away with some truth. Right? This is a definitely a plausible answer, but I think there's something more over here. The Parsha tells us about the things that are going to happen when we fulfill God's commandments. Okay, the Parsha tells us what happens if we don't fulfill God's commandments. All the curses in this week's Parsha as well. And there's a correlation here. It's not an accident. The Pasuk says very carefully, Im Behoukotay telechu. If we're going to use Rashi's approach, if you are someone that is investing in truly understanding the essence of what it is that I'm trying to convey to you, my people, and you fulfill them, and you do them, not just think about it intellectually. How many people do you know that we're very happy thinking about intellectual concepts, but are very far from actually applying those concepts to the world? How many professors would love to sit in the halls of academia and read and read and read and read, and they do absolutely nothing for society? In Judaism, we want you to have an understanding that our faith is all about action. We believe that someone who does learning and has no action, it's like a tree. It's like a tree without fruit. We're here to go ahead and be proactively working on becoming better versions of ourselves so that we can make the world around us better. And that's why it says, Im Behoukotay telechu. I don't want you to just go ahead and hear my commandments. I want you to walk with them. Why are we using this word walk over here? It's very simple. The idea of halicha, of movement, is a reminder that we don't want our Judaism to be static. All too often, I meet Jews who are just kind of going with the flow. They're going with the flow. I call them the walking dead, like zombies. They're all walking, doing the same thing, aimless, and so on and so forth. That's not what this verse wants from us. Im Behoukotay telechu is God saying, I want you to live a life of walking, of movement. Don't stay stagnant. How are you pushing yourself up to do more? How are you growing? How are you developing yourselves? There's something constantly pushing down on us. It's called gravity. Why couldn't God create a world where I could just take my cup of coffee and just leave it up here? It's got to come down every single time. Why can't I take my AirPods over here, just leave them over here, and leave this over here, and this way I have them in eye's view? Why does God have to create a reality where everything is always coming down, and I have to lift it up? Everything in the physical world is an expression of something that's happening on a metaphysical plane. God creates a world where you and I need to exert effort and energy constantly. The world is moving forward. If you are standing still, you are left behind. If you're not growing, you're not developing, you're left behind. By the way, today there are studies that prove that people who walk anywhere between 25 to 30 minutes a year add 7 years to their lives. We're not meant to be stagnant. We're meant to be moving on a physical level. But that's also true about us intellectually and spiritually. How are we evolving and developing ourselves spiritually? How are we raising the bar of our own understanding and performance of our own Judaism? Or are we just happy being static? By the way, you trying to be comfortable and static is the reason why you're unhappy and depressed. The reason why so people are unhappy today is because they don't have a vision that they're working towards, they're moving towards. It's not enough to be passively receiving from a class. It's not okay to be passively just reading. You're not going to be happy that way. It's got to move to action. It has to be actionable. Coming to synagogue and praying is great. I love it. But if it's not changing you internally, if every time you're coming here, nothing is new is happening, you're doing something wrong. Im Behoukotay telechu. I want you to have movement. I want you to grow. I want you to achieve. I want you to accomplish. And if you do, what happens? V'natati gishmechem bi'itam. I'm going to give you the reins. I'm going to give you the gashmiyut. I'm going to give you the physicality. V'natnaha arzi v'ulav. It's pri hasadeh biryo. I'm going to give you everything that you need. The thing that you're most concerned about are these material things. But if you're the kind of person that's consistently growing and developing, don't worry about those material things. God's going to give you those things. Now, it's fascinating. You keep reading on a little bit later on in the Pesukim, okay? It says, Ani Hashem Elokechem, Asher Hotzuteitchi Me'eretz Mitzrayim. I took you out of the land of Egypt, okay? Mihiyot lahem abedim, from being servants to Paro. Ve'eshbor matot olchem ve'olech etchem komiyut. I broke the bars of your yoke and led you to komiyut. I took the thing that was literally wrapped around your neck, weighing you down. I broke the chain, so to speak, to make you free so you could stand. Komiyut means to stand up tall, right? To stand with pride. Okay, now, this is a very interesting way of explaining what Komiyut says. Look what Rashi says. Rashi says, first of all, just before we even get to Rashi, this word Komiyut we find in so many different places. We find it in the Shema before the morning. We say, lead us b'komiyut to our land, right? We say the Birkat Hamazon, right? Komiyut, take us back into the land with our heads held up high. Great. That's what you want? You want me to take me into my land held up high? Fantastic. What Rashi says, what does the word komiyut mean? He says, Bikoma zekufa, right? It means with a straight, an erect posture. Okay. Now, the Khatam Sofer has a fascinating question over here. He says, why did Rashi use these two words, Koma zekufa? It's like an interesting description. Why those two words to talk about komiyut? Why not pride? Why not something else? So he says over here that the Gemara, okay, tells us that a person is not a person who walks b'koma. This is exactly the words of Gemara. But a person who walks b'koma zekufa, a person who walks with an erect posture, okay, is a negative thing. It shows arrogance. If you walk around with your head up high, tall, with your nose up in the air, that is an arrogant person. So, why is this komiyut okay? Why does this parasha tell me that God, don't worry about it, He took you out so you could walk around snobby? Why does Rashi use this word, b'koma zekufa, when the Gemara itself says that koma zekufa means, right, a unacceptable posture for a Jew? So the Chatam Sofer answers this question through the context of the Pesukim themselves. Okay? The previous verse says, I will walk among you to be a God, and you will be a people to me. Okay? Arrogance is only when we selfishly credit our own accomplishments and fail to acknowledge God's assistance, God's providence, God's help in achieving the things that you and I achieve. Standing tall is fine. Be tall. It may be even admirable in certain circumstances. But when a person is standing tall and he's not recognizing that is coming from God, he's missing something. Standing tall can be a beautiful thing. It could be even show honor. But you have to remember that the reason why you're standing tall is because God is allowing it to happen. The Elder of Slobodka, Rav Nosson Tzvi Finkel, right? The guy that developed all the Musar that you and I have today. He said that if he could go ahead and write a book, he would write one book based on one chapter, right? One verse in the whole entire Torah. You know what that is? He says, because God created, the pasuk would be, and God created man in his image, and in the divine image he created him. Right? That's one book, one chapter. This would be the whole entire book. That you and I are created in the image of God. Why is this man? The Musar movement was about discipline and character development, about growth. Why is this the one verse that he felt was so important? Why is this his main idea that he wants to share with the world? Well, if you think about it, if a person is in a space where he's thoughtfully considering all of the qualities, the value of what it means to be created in the divine image, if you stop and pause with the extraordinary potential of perfection that actually exists within us, right? Then you're going to realize that you and I tower infinitely above the most refined and exalted creatures, everything on the planet, from the depths of the sea to the highest heights in the heavens. What it means to be a human being, it means to be a reflection of God. Our dignity and pride is a reflection of God's existence. We're an extension of God. Do you understand that, what you are? Now, what allows you to express godliness in its fullest is how you use your time, your free will. It says that God is recreating reality every moment of time. He does not rest. Komiyut means to be focused on the understanding that you and I are going to lead us to our land with our heads up high, with our land being sovereign, okay? When we're able to recognize godliness in ourselves and other men. The world is falling apart. You know, if you're going to be here on Sunday for the Israel Day Parade, I was speaking to some of my friends who are working for Hatzalah. They're expecting to arrest over 1,000 people on Sunday. This is the first time in the history of the Israel Day Parade that the parade itself is renting the city streets to call it a private domain. And this way, if people come that are not invited, they can be arrested for trespassing. Okay, they have buses set up all over the streets over here that are going to take people to jail. They're not going to have a catch and release that is tomorrow on that Sunday. They're going to put people in jail and keep them there for 24 hours. Why are they doing this right now? Why is the world so broken right now? Why is there a war in Ukraine? Why is there a war in Israel? It's because there's a lack of Tzel Elokim. No one sees the dignity in other people. Everyone's at fault. Everyone's to blame a little bit. How are we making the world a better place? It starts with recognizing that all of us are created equal under God, that we each have a godly spirit. This is exactly what it means, by the way. The pasuk says, when I remove this yoke, right? I remove this yoke from that is strapped around your neck, the chains that are holding you down. Komiyut then refers to maybe the confidence of a nation. Maybe we need to be more confident in who we are as Jews, in what we believe in and what we stand for. Maybe that's why the world around us has such a hard time with what you and I actually do. Maybe we need to be more clear about what our mission statement is, that we're here to improve humanity, not just to make money. Maybe we need to spend more time reflecting more about what it means to be working Behoukotay telechu, not just to be a Jew with a kippah on your head and to eat kosher food and to light candles on Shabbat, but to live it inside of our hearts. God's presence does not rest on any individual, but unless someone that has strength wealth, means, and stature. When the Jewish people were leaving Egypt, they asked them for money. They had to come out with, well, why? God does not come unto the weak-hearted. God rests himself in individuals that are powerful, that are strong, that work hard on being great. You're sitting there in a jacuzzi all day and you're eating pizza, God's not coming to you. It doesn't work like that. Where does Moses find God? When he's out there in the field working with his cattle. Abraham, where does he find God? When he's resting from a surgery that he does, a sacrifice for himself for God, and then he wants to run out and serve the people. Okay, the people who are running out into the world to make a difference, the people that are literally carrying the planet with them, moving them forward, those are the people that God rests on. You want to be someone that has the rains coming at the right time. You want your trees to bear its fruit. You want all the parnasah. You want the success. How are you moving? Where are you moving to? Im Behoukotay telechu. By the way, the curses are not just abstract curses, right? The curses are very specific. And they're all a reflection of what your life is like when you don't move forward. They're not curses, they're consequences. You want to eat, fried food all day? You don't complain when you get a heart attack. That's not God, that's you. You want to be distracted when you're on the phone, when you're driving? Don't be complaining. That's on you. There are consequences. If we are not in a state of consistently developing and building ourselves up, you're not going to have the reins at the right time. My blessing to each of you is that you recognize that you are a divine spark. I want you to walk up tall and be proud of the fact that you have a relationship with God, that you're someone that is truly trying to be the best version of themselves. May you be blessed with the clarity and the reality that you are an infinite spark of potential that could accomplish anything if you remember where the source of that power comes from. And that comes always from above. Wishing you all a Shabbat Shalom and Barach. Looking forward to continuing the conversation next week. Shabbat Shalom.